From the harbor to the high rise, from the boardroom to the beeline. Pull a seat for some daylight. Kenji on a headline. Hey! East Coast insights talk that truth. Big city questions searching for proof. Stories from the ground, from the booth to the roof. East Coast insights, hey! Right here with you. East Coast insights talk that truth. Big city questions searching for proof.
Yeehaw, yeehaw. What's up, everybody, to a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday again. Thank you so much for joining me. For those that are here on live, for those who are going to watch the show later, East Coast Insights coming at you again. I'm Kenji Shimada, your host, and bringing in all the cool news that is coming in from obviously East Coast Australia. I was just talking to my guests just then about it's going to be a bit of a pivot happening with the show next week, but stick around for the news at the end of the episode. I'll talk all about that later. Today, we're going to stretch out a little bit, head into the Brisbane region, go a little bit further. I've got two guests coming on. I've got Mr. Gavin Tye and Roman Galikov from the Founders Collective up in Brisbane. We're going to get into what they've been building. What is it? What's been the journey for them? Both Gavin and Roman have been, in the community for a long time. I've managed to meet Roman at some of the events, and he's been telling me about what's been building. Roman has been coming from Create Financial. Gavin is from Six Sides, which is event software that builds communities. I'm actually super keen to dig into this one of what Gavin is building, because I've had a few ideas about event software. And also he's got Deal Buddy as well, which is a co-pilot for scalable sales and growth. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guests, Gavin and Roman. Welcome to the show, guys. How you doing?
Kenji, nice to meet you. Hey, did I hear your name in the intro?
Yes, you did. Yes, Kenji's. Yes.
We need to take a leaf from your book.
Yeah. Oh man, that's once again. I give a shout out to Jared, who's that was just Suno AI music, right? So that's been sort of coming together. I will have to maybe change the song. I'm so sad. I love that song so much, but
it is pretty good.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. And this is sort of, I'm keen to get into what you guys are building, but this is what's sort of happening right now. And we're just talking offline about, why these communities are so critical. Like, what are we doing at the moment of, building our businesses, but building community? And, if you're ever in any sort of shape of working with community, it's not an easy task, right? Getting people together, organize events, etc. But it's so rewarding. So whether it's from Gavin or Roman, either of you guys, if you'd like to we'll start off at the Founders Collective, and then I'd love to sort of dive into, with Create Financial, where that sits, to help these founders build Six Sides and also Deal Buddy, and where that sort of fits in to what you're working on.
Do you want to go, Roman? Do you want me to go?
I'll go. Yeah, you go.
So essentially, Roman and I started Founders Collective is because we both work from home, and we used to work together in 2015 to 2020, and we were founders working at home, and that's isolating and lonely. And we thought there's got to be other people who are working from home, who aren't necessarily who want to go to a investment or a VC backed networking group. So we thought, I'm sure there's people who would come along to Founders Collective, and that's what we started. We put the feelers out, and essentially, that's the impetus of why it began, is to help people connect who may be working more isolated. And
it kind of started very simple. It's just, let's catch up for drinks with some founders and share stories and share lessons learned. And it's I think the response exceeded our expectations from the get-go, and there's clearly a sort of a decent number of solo founders or early stage founders or first-time founders that were all kind of, either in it by themselves or in it for the first time, have lots of questions, trying to figure it out. And, events are always excellent. You learn so much. But in Brisbane, we haven't really had anything where it's low-key, casual, you just show up and shake hands and have a chat, and kind of, it's not really networking as such. It's more just I guess a community, right? A place to kind of hang out and learn from each other. So from that evening that we organized last year, it sort of kind of started to shape up to be a bit more thoughtful and a bit more purposeful, right? So kind of we started with this notion of, let's offer just a social connection piece, right? We'll organize drinks, we'll book a venue, we'll kind of, it's really straightforward and really, really easy. And we were pretty lucky to sort of get some support for that from, people in our networks, and, a couple of good brands. But then it was sort of clear that people kind of needed something a little bit deeper, something a little bit broader. So kind of, I think we've landed on 3 pillars, or three sort of focus areas that people keep talking to us about. One is the social connection is really important, right? We're kind of, and you can tell from this conversation, we've all called in from our home offices. So a lot of people working from home. The other piece is this kind of educational component, right? It's just kind of like learning from one another. How do we do, R&D tax incentive? How do we do sales? How do we do marketing? How do we do IP protection? All these kind of things that are not really connected, but in the community, there are people that are experts in those particular areas and can share their experience and their knowledge, and it doesn't need to cost anything. And then last but not least is kind of this little bit of inspirational, motivational content, or just to help people kind of keep getting jazzy about their startups and about what they do, because just it's hard work, and especially if you're a solo founder, it's really hard work. So it helps to get a little bit of energy from a founder who's been there, done that, or from someone who's kind of had a story that's resonates. So that's how it's kind of started, right?
Yeah, and I was going to say, how is that education side? Because like you said, it starts with the social, everyone loves it. How's that education side been unfolding? Because like you said, building business, whether it's you're raising or you're getting your financials or sales, like it's always, you have conceptions about what is effective. How's that been landing with the founders or the builders in there?
Yeah, what's interesting, because what we're trying to do is build something that's sustainable for us, because we've got multiple businesses, we're both dads, and so we don't want to do something that takes up a lot of time. So that's the juggle. So what happened was, we started with the event in September, then we did another event in November, which was an inspirational piece. Mark Sauby come and did a talk. Then we got hit by Christmas, and even we've been kind of caught up in the Christmas rush, and then to starting it again is we're like, we've had to get all our businesses in order, and now we're kicking off new events now. So we've got to plan out our timetable for the year, but we're doing a founders walk on Friday in the city, our Friday founders walk.
Yeah, I did see that one.
Yeah, with the precinct, mate. If you're up here, come along. And
I'll be at the drinks next week. Unfortunately, I can't make the Friday, but I'll be there next Wednesday night.
Yeah, fair enough. And then so what we'll do is because I interview guests on the Leap podcast, which I'd love to have you on too. We've already briefly spoken about that before Christmas. But then out of that, the people who are on the Leap podcast will be a guest. We'll hopefully set up an educational session for us. And I think the first one we'll run off is legal advice it was a data room for Emily Price, who was a guest on a podcast. So we're kind of trying to kind of dovetail everything inside of one another, but also not overburden the founders of part of the community. We'll probably run something every couple of months.
Okay, so you're really sort of collaborating with the founders to deliver the content and sort of community effort.
Well, I think just statistically, if you have 50 subject matter expert founders, they're all they're all knowledgeable in their own area, and we'd all benefit from learning from them. We don't have to look too far. I don't think. Yeah.
And as I've been with you as well, Roman, like I guess seeing that unfold within that community, like I'm sure like you said at the beginning, it starts small, right? But seeing people sort of engage and seeing that community flourish must be pretty satisfying.
It is, right? It's lots of fun. I think for Gavin and I, it's fun to kind of be the organizers and do it for the community and do it for the people that are kind of in our little ecosystem. It is a ton of fun.
Roman doesn't have any friends, so this is a good reason for him to do.
It's how we make friends, baby. It's how we make friends.
This is my only outing for the year. So please do come out and join us for the drinks on the 18th.
But so much. Like if I reflect on the last year and a half, mate, so much of my outings has been the events. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if you're building a business, like you just kind of got to get out there, right? You have to have those conversations. I love this. There's a gentleman that I actually just bumped into him at the workout station here, but we always have been sort of not directly, but we always meet there. And we had a chat yesterday, and he does a bit of coaching, mentoring as well. And he said that these 3 key principles are what founders or business people always sort of face is either you have it's conversations, conversions, or capacity. So it's like, do you have enough conversations going on, right? And do these conversations convert? And if you are converting, are you at a capacity problem? Like, is that where the issue is arising? So like, where are the bottlenecks inside of your business? And I feel like with these communities, it's such a beautiful place because even if you're not super clear or you're not articulate yet, if you're increasing conversations, then that can lead you to obviously business down the line, but also, supportive community.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with lead generation, everyone's been lazy these last few years and used digital lead generation, and that is getting swamped now with AI. People are just doing 10 times more without the effort, and it's just becoming noise. And I think you'll see, we're already seeing community building being part of business growth. And we're seeing that with Gary Vee has been talking about that for years. You don't have to look very far from the success of a lot of celebrities these days is they have a massive community or a massive following. And I think going back to community building and whatever that means for any business, I think that is where we need to go if we want to be successful and actually achieve whatever goals that we want. So.
And I love that you speak about that. Can you just tell me a little bit more of what you've, I guess, seen and experienced? Because, hey, man, this business role, we want to make sure we're attending to business as well. But in terms of the lead generation and getting above the noise, I think that's a big one, right?
Yeah, it's been hard. Back in 2015, when I started working with this company called Red Eye, there was no automated outreach software, and or software to go and find email addresses that would give you best guess and all that kind of stuff. It was hard to find the right people. And so when you did find them, they were often open to conversation, and you could use email as a lead generation tool. Now you can create a list of 1,000 ideal target clients in about 5 minutes and email them out with no effort. And so if you can do it, everyone can do it. And it's so even now, we all get spammed and it's just not working anymore. And so and also they're asking too much too soon. Hey, we're doing this. You want to have a chat? It's too much. They're not offering value. They're not trying to offer value. They're just trying to take in lead generation. And I think what we're trying to do is give value back to the community. And it may not come back in the form of business for us directly, but it may come back from you and I meet Kenji and you go, oh, great. Now I know what you do. Let me introduce you to X or this person here. And there's also this law of reciprocity in the universe, I find, when it comes to sales. If you put effort out, things come back from left field that you're not aware of. And so that's kind of part of why we're building Founders Collective, to help everyone connect better. And, hopefully that may lead to something that comes into our world, but that's not the primary reason. Right?
That's right. But Kenji, you're absolutely right. And it sort of comes, focus on the capacity. Because to have a happy customer base, you have to have the capacity to sort of build relationship with your client base. And I feel like at times Founders Collective is a really good excuse to invite our clients to hang out and meet each other and spend time with us, right? So we get to sort of have a conversation with them outside of the work that we do with them and kind of have a conversation more on a human level. So I think it's awesome for that.
Yeah. Have you been seeing, like what Gavin was talking about with that reciprocity and like, trust is, that's a key commodity, right? Have you found like that reciprocity, trust and growth of the community actually occurring? And like you said, I'll introduce you to this person and that growth happening as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it also it's building our profile in the community as well. Like since starting this, like I've been asked to like vote on a panel for pitch night and stuff. I've never done that before. And so somewhere along the line, that was give me exposure to whatever, build out my reputation or whatever. And that is the start of something as well. So it does have all these second degree and third degree benefits. Like, again, no one's asking Roman to do any of this stuff, but I think it's more him than me, than anybody else. So it's working for one of us, but not for the other one.
And that's like something that it's something that I like. I really want to sort of tap into in terms of like strategically thinking about business, right? Because sometimes, we obviously want to do right by our communities. We want to make sure that we're delivering value, but it's okay to also look at what is strategic positioning, right? Because I did the Daniel Priestley Key Person of Influence course, and right now, personal branding and, how do you reach further? Because even with content, I'm realizing that the key path to actually get more reach with my content and giving it more, trust, validity, and all this sort of stuff is reach and collaboration. And I think this is like the same thing of what we're talking about. And I think it's okay to think like that, because some people are like, oh no, I'll just be, humble and I won't. It's like, yeah, but if you don't get your name out there right now, if you don't build your brand, build your business, build that community, because I think these conversations are things around, because every investor, the question is, what's your moat? What's your defensibility? How do you sort of protect? And especially in these changing times of business, like how really are you going to, make sure that if you got a family, you can provide for your family, you've got revenue, you got people that you can lean on, you got things that you can sort of work with. And yeah, I'd love to hear if that's been something you've been tactically thinking along the way, or if it's something you've noticed along the way.
I think a bit of both, right? And for us, there's definitely kind of visibility aspect for us personally, but also for everyone in the community, right? The more events you attend, and the more events they effectively attend, the community members, the more opportunities they have there to kind of put themselves in front of the ecosystem and build that trust. Because it's being able to create beautiful content like you, it's a talent. Like it's a real skill, and not everybody can do that, right? Like you should see Gav's YouTube channel. So if you can get out in person and try and build trust and kind of meet people in person, then that's it's a fit for many people, right? I think you're right. You've got to you have to be visible. You have to build your personal brand. The how you go about it is kind of different for different people. And I think having this in-person forum, is excellent for many personality types.
Yeah. And sorry, Kenji, and I was just very similarly, or to add on to that, is I think adding value first out there in the world is too many people just ask without offering value first. And like what you're doing here, you're trying to add value to the community. If we can do it like in one area and then add slightly, and even if you don't get the results, it's all practice until it finally starts paying dividends, I think. And it's not going to turn the floodgate on. You won't go from 1 to 100,000 followers overnight. Like, yes, there are things that do happen to some people, but that's not the norm, right? I think every effort is a chance to refine until you start slowly building up that community or the following or whatever that is. And I don't think it's one piece of content does it. I think it's something of over 100 or a couple hundred or 1,000, whatever that is. But there is a number there that when you hit it, something will change, right?
Well, and it kind of comes back to that trust, I guess, that's like just key at the center of all of this. And I think as an example, like so I had a previous business partner that he was in Sunshine Coast and I was here on the Goldie. We would do, meetings every day, chat about stuff. What are we doing? What are we working on? That kind of stuff. And, very familiar. Hey, what's up? But my God, When I see him in person, I'm just like, there is just, the human experience and the truth of a reality, right? Like we are a whole being, like, and this is the whole, body language. What does that say?
Yes.
And how does a human being sort of engage with information? And it's like, because sometimes like I'm shocked. I'm like, oh my God, look at you. You're a whole man, you're a whole damn human. But I think, physiologically, that innately will build trust, which is why I always recommend people go to events, go see people, go meet people. And like you said, it'll take 100 pieces of content to build trust or even like recognition. But if you go to 5 events and you talk to the same person twice, that's already going to be a super high level of trust there.
100%. And just to use that example, like with Six Sides, we went to an event last year in Perth. If we didn't go to that in-person event, we've just been given a verbal agreement for a large, unbelievable project that will change the business, hopefully. But you just have to be there in person. Those things aren't, people want to buy from people they like and are in person. I don't think that's ever going to change in the near future. I don't think AI will replace that. I think it may make it easier to connect, but we still have to be in person, right? People still want to work with people they like, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
100%. And I think even with like AI content, realistically, it's like people are like, oh, you can, clone yourself and make an AI video, and just spit out 500 videos for the next month. I was like, I could, will that build trust? Like, will that actually connect with my audience? Like, who knows? It might backfire on me as well.
I think it'll backfire, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'd love to actually segue to that, if possible, and how much you want to speak about it, Gavin, about what you're building with Six Sides. Because what I've seen at the moment, it's an event software that helps to build communities and is designed to create community engagement. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So essentially, So the crux of it is, my technical co-founder, he built it for a talk at a conference, and essentially what he was doing was trying to help a development community connect better. And so most people, I think it's pretty well documented, we're in a loneliness epidemic. All right. And that's one of the reasons we started Founders Collective, is to help people who are lonely. Right. But genuinely, if we can help people connect at an event, and most people don't. Like, I feel a change since COVID. People are apprehensive. I'm more apprehensive. I'll always go to an event and go, oh, I want to go and connect with these people, but I get shy like everybody else, and I don't do it, and I leave feeling disappointed. So what we do, the crux of it is to help people connect through gamification. We want to spark that competitive spirit to get people to connect through a game called Tag Your It, and then start that conversation and get out of the way. Because if you can help people connect genuinely at an event, then the hypothesis is, or the outcome of that is, that community will get stronger because more relationships will be formed. So that was the crux of the beginning point of Six Sides. Now, as it's grown, we're dealing with associations or people who run multiple events. So not often a large event is just a one-off. There's often little ecosystems or little smaller events that run off. So we're helping grow community through multiple events, or now we're going up a level to, there's all these sinews, all these things in between events that people want to, how they would engage with their community. We're evolving our platform into that, to be a community building and management platform with a main emphasis on events.
Can you share about that, just one element of the gamification? Because I think that's where it's piquing my interest in how that operates inside of the app right now.
Sure. Well, let's think how many people do you meet at a conference that you go, oh, that guy was interesting, or that lady was interesting. I cannot remember their name. Right? It happens all the time. So we have this game called Tag Your It, where we use facial recognition, and what we do is take a photo, and then we give people points for the behavior that we want them to do at the conference, whether it's take photos of speakers, go and speak to sponsors, meet each other.
Yeah.
And then so you go up and go, hey, Kenji, I would love to say hello. I'm Gav. Can we take a photo together, a selfie? And we take a selfie, and it goes to a profile, goes into a gallery. Then I get a point, you get a point, and then the leaderboard goes up, and then whoever's at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the conference gets a prize. So now the second degree value is the event organizer or the association, or if we use it at Founders Collective, we got all this media, then we can create this content to build awareness for what we were trying to achieve in the first place, right? Then I can go back in afterwards and go, who was that bloke that he was was on a podcast. I can't remember his name. And I go through my photos. I go, oh, it's Kenji. And I can click into your details and connect with you on LinkedIn and carry on the relationship from there. So, yeah.
And I think I'm curious of like if this is sort of coming into the forefront, but I was talking to a few guys out at like Invest Gold Coast and stuff, and they're, you know, in terms of investment, because obviously this is like the city trying to invest into the, you know, into the region and stuff, but they're like, we just don't know if people go to these events. We don't know if like the numbers have increased from last year to this year. Like we actually don't know if it's actually a thing more than people just saying there's an event or like a community movement going on.
Yep.
Have you noticed that that's also a bit of feedback coming from people that are looking for like growth outcomes inside of the community?
Yeah, well, I think, yes. I think people just run events without thinking about the outcome they want to achieve, right? And they don't, like you'll go to a lunch. I go to this lunch once a month, and it's always the same way. Go and have lunch, go and talk to people, but it's not intentional. So there could be people there that I really want to meet. I don't know who they are. I would make it more intentional and make sure they can see who all the attendees are and go, hey, Roman, I hear you have no friends. I would love to connect and say hello, right?
He's my friend.
Thanks, Kenji.
Yeah. So, but you've got to be intentional about it and make it easy for people to do it. So now you think about an association or a volunteer organization or something that's trying to build community, whether it be volunteers. People come from, yes, they come to help, but they also come to build networks. Maybe they're doing it because they're at home and they're a mum and they don't have a lot of friends anymore. So they're going to a volunteer organization. They want to connect. If they don't do that really fast, they won't stick around because they'll feel more lonely because they're not meeting anyone. And so we're trying to actually remove that burden and get over that apprehension so that community becomes stronger and stronger over time.
Yeah, and it's amazing how it works in practice too, right? Like kind of adding that little icebreaker, you know, the permission for you to approach someone else and say, hey,
oh, that's cool.
Let's take a selfie together because, you know, you get a point, I get a point. Hey, I'm number 5 on the leaderboard at the moment, you know, and it's just like this innocent chat, right? That you can kind of use to start a conversation. And it's, oh, by the way, you know, I do this and this, and you know, this is the real reason I wanted to chat is something else, right? But it just speeds up this, I guess, networking process. Right, to the point that it's just like becomes dynamic and fun and just fast.
Yeah, and from your end, Roman, have you seen the impact of that as well? Like, even if it's on small scales, for people to just step out a little bit more of their comfort zone to engage with people?
Oh, exactly right. It's, you know, you end up with kind of these fun selfies of, you know, groups of people that have never met each other, right? But it's a fun photo and it's a content for them to use on their social media if they want to. It definitely is a valuable content for the organizers. So we've used it in both of our events for Founders Collective and ended up with a bunch of fun photos, right, of people just kind of having fun and then you can actually communicate the fact that it's, hey, we organize something where people have a bit of fun, right? And it's kind of, it really communicates the vibe.
And I even think like photos, you know, if you get a video, cool, but photos, and once again, like I'll admit there's like the strategic elements of business there as well, right? Of like the fact that you are there at these events. Like once again, I think Daniel Priestley talks about like 7 points of trust. Oh, it's like 11 points of trust over 7 platforms or something like the 7-11.
Yep.
So it's like how many places are people seeing you, you know, on what different mediums to then first and foremost, I would just say to people, it's like to know you're alive, right? That you're a person out there in the community. But the fact that, you know, you are with someone else, you are out there engaging and you're sort of building that trust, which is sort of, which is exciting. And this is sort of what we were talking about at the beginning, like technology enabling the human element, right?
Yeah,
Because
not replacing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
not replacing it, right?
Yeah.
100%.
100%. Now, Roman, I'm curious because I'd love to get into Deal Buddy just before we run out of time. But Roman, with Create Financial, could you just give us a quick overview of maybe what the target area that Create Financial is working with? Because you discussed also earlier, you're helping founders through educational, you know, mediums. Are you doing that through Create of, I guess, is it accounting, compliance, and advisory for the scaling founders?
Yeah, that's right, and that's I think sort of Gav mentioned that people end up asking for some help or asking a few quick questions here and there straight away. It creates financial. We started it uh, less than a year ago. I co-founded it with a good mate of mine, Wayne Gerard, and what we do is a fairly holistic financial services offering for founders, startups, and scale-ups. So we effectively look after everything from accounting and bookkeeping and management accounting to tax, to R&D tax incentive, to commercial advisory. So things like ESOPs and pricing and recruitment and scaling and expansion, kind of all those things that founders have to deal with, right? And kind of learn as they go. What we've, I guess, learned the hard way is that if you can surround yourself with people who've kind of been there, done that, it just makes life a whole lot easier. And especially in finance, a lot of the time, early stage founders end up with a tax agent who does one little bit, an R&D consultant who does their bit, and then they're sort of trying to partner up with a fractional CFO, but that's hard and expensive. So it kind of would effectively kind of reinvent that by saying, all your things can be handled by one firm and get advice that's holistic.
And I think you're kind of like maybe tapping into my next question I was going to ask, because you've got in your website, it's like founder scaling fast. That key there, what's like the insight of, fast almost implies it's just like, how do you minimize wasted time, right? How do you minimize loss?
Yeah, it's spinning wheels, right? It's pondering, it's analyzing, it's evaluating, it's kind of figuring things out. That's where a lot of time goes. And it's, you talk to a first-time founder and the speed at which they think about early stage challenges versus second-time, third-time founder is it's different, right? The second, third-time founder, they don't even slow down for those small, I guess, things, right? It just kind of...
And do you have partnerships as well in terms of how you work with Create Financial and like other companies to help those founders get over those challenges?
Yeah, that's right. And I think we've got probably half a dozen of, I guess, really valuable partners, and it spans all the way from AWS for credits and Vanta for material discounts and insurance. Notion and insurance brokers for policies that are purpose-built for startups in tech that have risk around R&D tax incentive and risk around other areas. So that all those things become really important. And of course, similar with lawyers. So I guess it's almost an ecosystem of its own where an early stage founder partnering with us can get support that's quick, valuable, and kind of takes them out of this kind of suspense of trying to evaluate and think about things, and just gives them practical advice around this is how we would approach it. Take it or leave it.
And so it seems like with you guys, it's a bit of a beautiful combo. You've got the Founders Collective, which is a community structure. Obviously, Roman, you've got Create Financial, which is realistically, if you got your financial structures right with your business, you're going to help a lot more. You've got 6 sides coming in with the community app. And then the final piece here is like Deal Buddy. What is it? The co-pilot for scalable sales growth. What is the Deal Buddy in this whole picture?
So Deal Buddy was born out of my first business, which was Sales Market Fit, which is essentially a strategy I learned to help add the right value at the right time in the sales process to move the deal along as quickly as possible. Now, most people try to sell and push the deal through and all that kind of stuff. Essentially, what Deal Buddy does is helps understand where the client is on their buying journey, like how do they see the problem, educate them on the problem, the indirect and direct impacts of it, and then frame the value of the solution that aligns with how the buyer sees the problem, so you can maximize the value and in theory help people buy more, because it's actually helping them really solve the problem that's really in context with their business and a lot more efficiently. Now, it's same with what Roman said, help founders scale fast or grow fast. most people will always trying to transition out of founder-led sales, which is, that's everyone's goal. Until you get a structure in place or the strategy in place to do that, it's very difficult to transition the subject matter expertise of a founder or the person in the business to a salesperson, because they just don't have that same skill set. And I've
So
seen
Deal
it for a
Buddies
lot.
helps that.
Yeah. So we it's contextual. We configure it to the unique value of a business, and then what it does, it actually can listen in on transcripts, or you upload transcripts, and it gives feedback on what you did really well, what you didn't do quite so well, and a pathway to fix it or to improve it, so you can actually address any unstated objections or issues, so you can actually make the sale faster and improve your value. So essentially, that's what DealBuddy does. And it can also help generate really bespoke content earlier in the sales process to add the right value at the right time to get people to engage early, and you can differentiate yourself from the competition, right? And sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that this is just something personal. I'd love to hear both of you guys, if you have thoughts on it, but I'd love to hear, what is that journey of sales been for you? Because to me, sales it's actually a beautiful personal growth tool. I think, it's always like, how much do you value yourself? How much do you value your work? And like you said, it helps the client to buy more, right? And a very superficial mind might be like, am I just forcing my client to buy more? But it's just like, but if you are actually solving their problem, is it not, on you? And I'm sure this is like a journey for you, Roman, as well. But like in terms of financial, it's just like, how are you educating yourself about your business? What are you trying to achieve? So what's that been like for you? Because now you've sort of implemented that into this platform. Has that been a bit of a growth journey for you to develop that?
From my point of view, yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of the way we look at it is, every founder is looking to build something that's kind of sellable at the end, right? So you're not just kind of, there's nothing wrong with building a lifestyle cash flow building. That's cash flow business. That's beautiful too. But a lot of the time, sort of the ambition is to build something that will be acquired and they can exit, right? So they're kind of all, a lot of founders are working to this exit. So if you work with the goal in mind, you almost have this building blocks of work, right, that needs to be done around how does it need to be structured, how compliance, the structure needs to be, what components of risk exist in the structure. So it almost, you're exactly right. So you're solving a problem, right? You're uncovering the problem for a founder who just didn't know that problem existed, right? And then you're offering a solution. So it's I've probably approached it in a similar way to you, right? That it's, we're offering solutions to problems and kind of educating on the components that are required for a successful exit down the track, right? Because we've seen it happen. So I guess there isn't an element of exaggeration or.
But then I think like putting the financial figure on it, right? It's just like, and then you pay this much. But I think this is just me speaking from my personal journey of like putting those dollar figures and like increasing your own personal value in terms of not like just floating it up, but know that you give a lot of value and that this is worth it. And I'm guessing that this is sort of where it's coming down to as well, Gavin, with like educating the client on why is this value and like why. And if it's not value, of course they walk away. But if it's like, but if you don't do this, because like you said, Roman, a lot of other people, second time founders, third time founders, they're like, we just move quicker. I know I invest there, Yeah.
The challenge comes, Kenji, is doing it at scale. Well, at least at scale that's effective, right? Like most people try to go from 0 to 1,000 and scale too quick. I think you need to walk before you can run. But how do you do it in a way, if you're a founder and you're trying to grow a business, how do you impart that knowledge onto you? Well, first and foremost, if you're a technical founder, how do you acquire the sales skills to do it, which is a huge mountain for them to climb if they don't have a lot of confidence. But two is, then how do you impart that years and years of subject matter expertise across a team? And that's really difficult. And that's why you see a lot of salespeople fail, because they just don't have the knowledge to do that, or the founder or just can't communicate it in a way that they can pick up and run with. So that's one of the things I've been working on for a long time, is get that strategy. And it's a really simple strategy called the 5-8 method. And then once you have that in place, and then you can start bringing other people on. But Deal Buddy's essentially an agent that sits on your shoulder and gives advice. It doesn't work for you. It gives you advice and picks holes in maybe what you're not doing well, what you're really doing well, and helps you create the right value at the right time and front loads the sales process. So you're building up the law of reciprocity, you're cementing yourself as a subject matter expert. And that's exactly how Six Sides won that massive deal, by using this process, because we used white papers early in the sales process to demonstrate value and define the problem in a way that couldn't be done 5 years ago before AI come out. So it's been a game changer.
I was going to say, maybe that's one of the last questions that I'll leave it on for both of you guys. But what has been one of those pivotal technologies or tools that really has helped you to increase your business and, I guess, where you want to go with your life?
You want to go, Roman?
No, you take this one first. That's a deep question, Kenji. I'm going to want to think about it.
I think probably ChatGPT has allowed, you can use it the right way and the wrong way. And I think learning, yes, it's been a great, powerful tool, but learning to use it the right way has been really, really important. Like, you've got to understand the fundamental value that you provide and the fundamental problems that you are solving and the first principled problems. If you get that right, then you use that to train up the GPT, I think that is really powerful. If you're just using it and it's just taking data from out in the world and trying to be lazy with it, I don't think it gives you the right out. It doesn't help you differentiate. I also think that course that you mentioned, the Daniel Priestley course, which is what I've done, has been pretty interesting to help me look at things in a different way.
100%. Mr. Galikov, what has it been?
Yeah.
Changed?
It's probably not one tool, but just kind of this AI wave has enabled a lot, right? And it's similar to sort of the cloud computing in 2012 and other this transformational technologies that changed how we work. I think kind of right now building a services business from scratch is actually probably the best time to do it, right? So we don't have legacy issues of how to adapt or change workflows and kind of introduce AI into the existing flows. We're introducing AI from the get-go, right? So I guess we're AI native, if you like, and it's present in everything we do, from engaging a client, onboarding a client, delivering services, and it's all of the service types that leverage AI to some extent for delivery. So I think AI is overall just fundamentally super powerful. And any firm 5 years ago and 4 years ago would be at a handful of staff right now, and we're still so lean because AI enables us to grow and gives more capacity without needing to recruit.
Can you share one way you shouldn't use it?
Don't put your personal information into ChatGPT.
No, so I think, Kenji, like I'm a big proponent now of using white papers earlier in the sales process to cement the problem, right? But you've got to give it context, like what are the fundamental problems, where it is. But if you just go, hey, write me a white paper based on this discovery call, it's just not going to offer the right value, right? So you've got to give it the right context.
Right. Yeah. And that's where, and to me, I'll say that's where I found out I shouldn't use it, was that at the beginning when GPT came out, it was just, I would just ask it everything, right? I'm talking to it. And then I have had a moment where I tipped over and I realized I gave over my critical thinking to it. And that's why, because I saw the AI spiral and I was starting to circle and we were going down. And I was like, oh, this is terrible, which is perfect, which is great, because I was like, oh, this is where I come in. I need to be the captain of this ship. I need to be taking, like you said, I need to make sure that I'm aware of the context that it sits in, where it's trying to go, what's it for. Because if not, it'll offer me a billion solutions to a billion problems that it creates and finds.
Sure.
Right.
And it doesn't know the why behind you trying to do something, right? It just refers to the who or the how out there. So, like, I'll give you some context. This big deal that we're about to sign, I wrote a really strong white paper early. Then I tried to write a second one, and I got lazy. I thought, just take that one and write that, and it wouldn't work. And it took me about 5 hours to get the context right. Maybe not that long. Maybe 4 hours, 50 minutes, something like that. But once I got the context right, I could write it within 30 to 40 minutes. But it took me a long time to get the context right. And once that was done, it was easy. But it was my communication style to Deal Buddy in this case. I got it wrong. So it took me a long time to unwind that and then set it in the right path. So It's not a lazy tool if you do it right. I think it's an effective tool.
Yeah, you gotta be at the helm of that thing. Well, gentlemen, I know I've already gone over a half hour. I knew this would sort of happen, but before we sort of close off today, I just want to, for all the listeners, and I'll put them in the show notes. I also have my Catalyst sort of Luma event page where I'm putting all the events in. But you've got this Friday coming up, 13th of March, 7:30 a.m. I believe you guys are walking from the precinct. No.
We're meeting at the precinct. We are meeting at the precinct.
Oh, yep, at Fortitude Valley.
Yep.
And then next Wednesday, the 18th of March, you've got the Founders Collective drinks starting from 5:30 till 7:30 p.m. at the River Bar and Kitchen in Brisbane City.
Absolutely.
Bam.
Come
For
along.
those that for those that are in Brizzy, please go check it out. I will make it to the Friday. To the Wednesday next week. I'll make it to the Friday. But like we were just discussing before, conversations, great connections, that's sort of where it's at. So
that's right.
Gentlemen,
And Kenji, just one last thing. The best way to stay up to date on all things Founders Collective is to subscribe to the newsletter. So if you jump on the website, founderscollective.com.au,
awesome.
There's a link to subscribe to the Substack.
Sweet. Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna bounce this out with the intro track again. But gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Everyone out there, connect with Gavin, connect with Roman, and I will see you next time. Peace.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
From the boardroom